Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. It's time to rant. One of the hottest stories in South Africa at the moment, and it's coming out of that commission, you know which one. And honestly, at this stage, this whole thing should have just been a movie. Witness A appears at the Madlanga Commission, and he reveals that organized crime isn't just working with the police. No. True SA style, we have to go and take it one step further. They're actually controlling parts of law enforcement, which then makes me start to question who exactly is in control of SA at the moment. Because for sure, it's not Cyril. And sadly, this all comes to light after somebody had to lose their life. After the whistleblower, Armand Swart, was murdered only 3 days after he exposed the corruption. So here's the background on Armand Swart. He worked for a company that manufactured springs for Transnet. We all know Transnet. I don't even have to introduce that company to you. And really, it sounds like a relatively safe, middle-of-the-road kind of job. I mean, something most of us should aspire to, considering our unemployment rate, of course. But no, typical South Africa, middle of the road is where you get killed. Because when Armand discovered that springs that cost 3 rand were sold for over 150 rand through shady deals linked to crime syndicates, which I'll go through now. If my math is mathing correctly, and I do not proclaim to be a mathematician under any circumstances, that's a 5,000% increase. Please tell me I'm wrong. 5,000% increase. When the people on X are like, oh, you have an issue with BEE. Yes, I have an issue with BEE. Why am I paying 150 rand for a spring that costs 3 rand? And you know, I'm sure you're all thinking of exactly the same story I am. Oh, I know when Eskom decided to pay, what was it, 238,000 rand for a mop. I mean, that's a lot worse in terms of percentage increase. But at the end of the day, at least nobody died for the mop, as far as we know, of course. Armand died for a spring, or a bunch of springs. I presume you wouldn't buy one. After he spoke out, killed 3 months later in April 2024. So this is all now over a year ago, and it's coming up in the Madlanga Commission. Imagine if this is a story that happened over a year ago, what other news we can look forward to. Yo. Okay, so Armand is now dead, and it's over a year later, and the Madlanga Commission is finally ripping the Band-Aid off. Witness A's testimony, similar to all the testimonies coming out of this commission, is absolutely shocking. So 3 hitmen, Michael Bullitt, Musakani, and Dio Mabusela, were arrested for Armand's murder, caught in a Mercedes-Benz in Brandy. And they had evidence of the firearms and WhatsApp messages. So why is this important? Well, these hitmen are also linked to other crimes, doing attempted murders on behalf of Kat, whom we all know very well, alongside Gadiso Malef. I presume I'm pronouncing these names somewhat incorrectly. So these big 5, the big boys, they aren't just criminals. They actually have direct links to political officials, government officials, with records showing that they coordinated crimes and corruption. There's the evidence. Do we even need to continue with the commission? Do you not feel like we have enough evidence to move forward into the trial? I mean, because the ANC never see anything through to the end. So why should we see the end of this commission costing us more and more taxpayer dollars? This is the only reason our economy is running, is because we have commissions going on. Anyway, I'm getting off track. So if you've ever watched the shows Good Girls or Breaking Bad, I love Good Girls, so funny. You know that the cartel, who are the big boys, actually are the ones in control. And that's always, and really, that's across the world. So between the government officials and the organized crime big boys, who do you think is in control of more than just a couple of parts of law enforcement? And I think that's almost the conversation we're not having. So something we're all becoming a little too accustomed to, I'm afraid to say, is that it just seems the trend is that truth tellers in South Africa, investigators like Witness A, face serious danger, actual, literal, guaranteed danger by bringing anything to light. So Witness A reported that he was offered bribes. I mean, think of the Daily Maverick expose recently. The prosecutor and the judge also bribed. And then, I guess when that didn't work, there were threats to back off. You know, you do what's it, the carrot and then the stick. So at least they're applying old school principles to new age corruption. Witness A, man, who is Witness A? He even attended suspicious parties where, and he says, with senior police pushing him to drop the case. You can almost imagine that conversation. Like, you can see the schmoozing. Oh, how are you? Have you chatted to my friend? Mama. You know, did you see that gorgeous Louis Vuitton bag? I can get you one of those. Fully packed, of course. And I've read plenty articles about how these cases, you know, keep stalling, is the destruction and loss of case files. And this Witness A says that the case files, officers carry them around to prevent theft or destruction. Imagine working under these circumstances. Yeah, it really is a mafia state. We are Colombia. African National Colombia. So, of course, this commission is now highlighting that syndicates actually control parts of our law enforcement, which is even worse than our law enforcement being out of control. The fact is now somebody with ill intention is in control. With upcoming hearings from more witnesses, Senzo being one of them, could actually reveal even more government ties. Could, it will. I'm almost confident in saying that the more hearings, the more links will be uncovered. It's almost a guarantee. The funny thing is that yesterday I heard somebody say that it looks like Cyril Ramaphosa himself will need to take the stand. Because it was Senzo who threw him under the bus, implicating him in authorizing the disbandment of the political killings task team. Telling you it should be a movie. So now Parliament needs to question these links as well, which I suppose is where Cyril might appear. Reports are saying that this is a systematic problem. You know, corruption fuels immorality, which erodes trust, which further encourages immorality, and so the cycle continues. But until we change the way we deal with the corruption and the lack of law enforcement, nothing's going to change. What's the old saying? You do the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is the definition of insanity, which is literally the definition of the ANC, commission after commission. But at some point, we need to take action. Understanding the problem is something I think we all very well educated on. But now we need to take action. We actually need to do the work. So many of us are willing to do it. You know, Cyril, there's a whole bunch of us who are unemployed and willing to do the work. If you could just stop putting your big fat nose into the private industry's business and just let all of us get on with our lives. Something I love to say is that we don't need stronger laws. We don't need new legislation. We don't need better oversight. What we do need is that the system functions in the way it should, applying the laws that are already in place, so that the people of South Africa can see when they do something stupid, they face the consequences. Consequences being the operative word. But you see, that's not something we get to see from our leaders. And the very behavior and attitude of your leaders directly reflects in the way your society operates. So, I know, again, destruction of South Africa can sit squarely on the ANC's shoulders. And so in closing for my ramble, like all the other failures in South Africa, this is all thanks to the ANC. They actually hire people without the skill or competency, which erodes the delivery of service, putting new processes and laws in place, which are then handed over to consultants who do the paperwork, and the government just rolls that out. But then nobody's actually doing the rest of the work. The government just sits there hiring a new consultant, which they hope will fix the problem, that miraculously somebody else in South Africa will actually implement the policy. The thing about business mindset, business acumen, is that if the very foundation of your business strategy, or in this case the law, is not applied, what are you building the rest of it on? So what has the Commission brought to light so far that we already knew? Yes, that we will maybe just copy and paste from the Zondo Commission. Organized crime is deeply embedded in South Africa. Yes, corruption is facilitated by violent crime. Yes, because we're all kind of living in fear for our lives. Thanks for that. And then state entities are compromised. Yes, no, I'm going to rephrase this. State entities are still compromised. State entities have not been able to fix systematic corruption issues since the Zondo Commission report. Yeah, we are definitely nowhere near implementing the Zondo Commission recommendations. That's what's coming out of this commission. I mean, on top of all the other really hot and happening names. So what we all need to keep in mind is that this commission is actually really a critical moment for South Africa. If this commission doesn't produce tangible results, consequences for those who have destroyed and eroded the institutions that operate this beautiful country, nothing's going to change. And really, we can all agree, yes, it's just going to get worse, a whole lot worse. That's my ramble. Witness A, how exciting. Living in a movie. But yes, are you guys actually managing to keep up with this commission? I am definitely not. And then DA literally throws in a curveball. Here's our BEE policy. I haven't watched anything about it yet. That's today's mission. Drop your comments below. I would love to hear from you. Do you actually think the ANC or this commission is going to give us tangible results and maybe eventually some consequence for some corruption? We just start somewhere, please. Anywhere is a good place, really, but we have to start. Guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, I would love to have you as a subscriber. Alternatively, drop me a like, drop me a comment, or share this with somebody who you think should also receive this valuable information. I love having you all here. Shout out to Nikki Gibbs, my first member. Love you and thank you for the support. For all the rest of you, I appreciate you watching this video. Have a great day. Over and out.